welcome back to my channel. I'm JDB, and today we are gonna have story time. And I'm gonna tell you the time that I was almost side chick to a married guy. So here we go. My best friend, one of my best friends, boyfriend. Oh wow, that sounds bad. Okay, I have a couple of best friends and one of their boyfriends. Anyways, he has this thing where he tries to hook me up with his friends, but it's like I'm not really, Anyways, he gave my number to one of his friends, and I ended up getting a message one day from this strange number, and I'm like, who is this? And we'll call him John. So John tells me that he's a friend of, we'll call my friend's boyfriend, D. And I'm like, D gave you my number? And I get irritated when people give out my number without asking me first. So I'm like, I have to get at him about giving up my number without telling me or asking me or getting my permission. And so that just started a whole conversation about D's safety, because I don't know, this dude he was genuinely concerned that me, little 5'3", is gonna somehow mangle D. Anyways, I'm like, you don't need to worry about D. He's gonna be perfectly fine. So we ended up having a conversation, and he seemed like a pretty cool dude. Eventually, after a while, we got to like where we'd exchange selfies or whatever, and he was trying to take me out or whatever, and I was just like, I met you online and I still don't really know that much about you, so that's not gonna fly with me. And he was just really persistent, and I got this gut feeling that I should try to like do some research into this dude. And I'm kind of an investigator, so yeah, I searched his number on Facebook, and the profile that came back wasn't even in his name. We'll call the name of that profile Christopher, but it was the same person. And so Christopher has a girlfriend and he has kids. Christopher. So at this point, I go to my friends and I'm like, so this dude's been talking to me. But I found his Facebook profile, and the name he gave me is not the name under this profile. And they're like, well, you should approach him on it. And so I decided that I would approach him on it. I go to him in his messages, of course, and I'm like, who's Christopher? And he's like, what do you mean, who's Christopher? I'm like, who is Christopher? And he's like, oh, Christopher's my dad. Pause. So I'm like, what? I ask one more time, who is Christopher? And he's like, Christopher's my dad. And I'm like, I find it hard to believe that your dad would register his Facebook profile under your number, and that these pictures of you would be on your dad's Facebook profile. So I get to his picture and his profile picture in Messenger, and I'm like, whose baby is that? He answers me a couple minutes later, and he's like, oh, that's my baby. This baby is also one of the kids on his Facebook profile, on Christopher's Facebook profile. So I'm like, I'm like, do you have a girlfriend? He's like, no, I have a wife. Did he just say that he has a wife? You're trying to take me out on a date, but you have a wife. Really? He goes on and starts explaining that he and his wife are no longer together. But me, being the little investigator that I am, I already scoped out his wife's Facebook profile, and I scoped out his Facebook profile. And it just so happened that a couple of days before I approached him, they celebrated their like second or third wedding anniversary. And they both had up anniversary posts to each other, and it seemed like they're pretty happy or whatever, because they have a lot of pictures of each other up and they're commenting back and forth and all this good stuff. So I'm like, but didn't you guys just have an anniversary a couple of days ago? This dude tells me that, yeah, he celebrated his anniversary, but his wife did not acknowledge it. So what is this that I'm seeing? And even if you had been split up, it had to have been recently from what I saw. And you wouldn't be out searching for somebody else to date. I would like to think that you'd be trying to work on getting your marriage back to where it should be. I don't know. But anyways, he sticks to his story that he and his wife are not together. And at this point, I'm just tired of talking to him because he's a liar. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't even matter. I'm going to block you and delete you and just pretend like this never happened. And this crazy dude told me that if I block him, he would be outside my window trying to talk to me. I'm like, no. After that, I just blocked him, deleted his number. I go to my friend's boyfriend. I go to D. And I'm like, D, this dude is married. What are you dealing with? D's like, him and his wife are no longer together. I'm like, D, they just had an anniversary. How are they no longer together? And even if I tell him my rationale on how he should be working on his marriage, and D's like, yeah, you're right. So at this point, I'm like, don't give my number to anybody else. Don't do it. It wasn't even fun while you were doing it. Just don't do it. And that was that. A couple of days ago, I go on Snapchat and I see that I have new Snapchat friend requests or whatever you call them. And I just accepted them, not really thinking about it. How about I get a message that says, wow, I'm surprised you added me. And I'm like, who is this? Oh, it's John. Blocked, deleted, goodbye. And that's the end of my story. Moral of the story, always do your research and always investigate. Don't trust these dudes. Do not trust them. The dude had a whole wife and family, and you're out here. What are you doing? That's not what... Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope you had a laugh or two at my expense. But yeah, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. But yeah, don't be a side chick ever.